Hello, my name is Megan Brown, and today I'm going to discuss an influential study called The Split Brain in Man. This study was published by Gazzaniga and conducted by Myers and Sperry. After Gazzaniga became interested in a study done at the University of Chicago by Myers and Sperry, done on epileptic patients to try and confine the seizure into one hemisphere. He wanted to investigate what would occur after two hemispheres were surgically separated. The surgery was performed by Vogel and Bogen. This surgically separated the left and right hemispheres by cutting the halves apart by the corpus callosum. In total, there were 10 patients in this study. The main question Gazzaniga was trying to answer was, how would the separation of the two hemispheres affect a person's mental capacity? This was answered by conducting 2 different testing methods, as well as many other smaller experiments conducted towards the beginning of the study. But the 2 I will be focusing on are the visual method and tactile method. The visual method was performed by displaying information in either written or picture form. The information was displayed by flashing the images along either the right or left visual fields. This was done because the researchers wanted to confine the information being transmitted into the left or right hemisphere. The tactile method was performed by placing an object in either the patient's right or left hand, while having the object outside of their visual field. This was done because the researchers wanted to confine the information being transmitted into the opposite hemisphere to where the object was placed. An example of this is where the object is in the patient's right hand, so it will be transmitted to their left hemisphere. For the left hemisphere, it was determined that the patients were able to correctly process the information in both the visual and tactile methods, but in both written and oral form. For the right hemisphere, however, it was determined that the patients failed to give the information correctly or to even give a verbal answer to the tests. The researchers concluded that when the information given by the patients was incorrect, it was a guess given by the left hemisphere. There were 3 distinct conclusions that have been drawn from the study. First, a test that was conducted earlier on over the visual stimulation of patients where they were asked to give responses verbally concluded that the speech centers of the brain are held in the left hemisphere. Second, a test that was conducted over patient motor control concluded that the opposite hand is controlled by the opposite hemisphere, meaning that the left controls the right and the right controls the left. And the third conclusion was that visual pattern data is transmitted through the corpus callosum. This study was important because it determined that the left and right hemispheres are independent spheres of consciousness. There are 2 studies I've selected that have added on to the contribution made by Gazzaniga. The first study was conducted by Metcalf, Funnell, and Gazzaniga in 1995. 6 different experiments were conducted that concluded that the right hemisphere holds more eidetic memory than the left. Eidetic memory is also known as exact memory, where a person is able to recall information they have only seen once. This determined that the right hemisphere was an adaptive function that allows it to interpret information more efficiently than the left. The second study was conducted by D'Alberto, Funnell, Potter, and Garvan in 2017 because they wanted to understand the chemical and electrical impulses on inhibitory control in split brain patients. They concluded that the right hemisphere displayed a longer response time on tasks, but it also showed a shorter stop signal reaction time than the left. Overall, the study concluded that the left and right hemispheres can inhibit responses. I hope that y'all have learned some things about the split brain study and why it is important. Bye!